he's right. Depth was the key with this series.
I agree.
And it completely cost the Knicks so many times, even though I thought the Pacers were the better team in the series. But
yeah, Tibbs ran them into the ground. I understand in the playoffs, Hart wants to play a full game. Yes, but you got to have the next guy step up, and the Pacers have that. If anybody goes down, we're just running out of guys. Brunson, they were all gassed. Yes, we all knew they were gassed. They're going to a 7-game series at home. They're all gassed from the series and in the series before, and because they're also playing a full game, which is the majority of them.
right.
Hart is, his abdomen. I'm sure he couldn't jump as high as he wanted to, as he did in the series before, to get rebounds and blocks. But yeah, next season, Tibbs cannot be playing these guys over 40 minutes.
Well, what do you expect him to do? Who else do you have?
Well,
you got to bring in depth. You got to sign guys.
But
No, what I'm saying, with what he had.
But
yeah, with what he had,
Tibbs to
exactly.
do?
But that's the problem, though, because if he was doing this throughout this regular season
exactly.
anyways,
Yeah.
if he outside of Randall and obviously the Brunson injury, but the Brunson injury happened right at the end of the season.
Exactly.
Outside of Randall, every other injury the Knicks have had were from being overworked because Randall's dislocated shoulder was just a freak accident fall. Yeah. But there's a reason why a lot of players don't play very much in the regular season, or they only play they'll sit out for the first 6-7 minutes of the second and fourth quarter rather than playing most of the game. You rarely see guys play all 48 minutes in the regular season. In fact, you don't see it. Josh Hart was the only player that plays all 48 minutes in a regular season game.
Yeah.
And if you're trying to win 16 games of basketball and you're going to play more because you're not going to go 16-0, it's impossible. Your body can't physically take it. And especially if you're someone like Josh Hart, who's not the biggest, he's not the strongest, he's doing what he can. And it hurt them. And look, there were complaints about Rick Carlisle being stubborn with his rotation by not closing with Halliburton or by not closing with McConnell over Halliburton. Tom Thibodeau was too. He easily could have gone to Alec Burks and given Josh Hart some rest. He easily could have gone to other guys, but he chose not to. And even during the regular season, he decided to play Hart for 48 minutes a game.
Well, here's the thing on that. If Josh Hart provides that much of a plus for you, and you need to win games in the regular season, right? Because the Knicks weren't in the best position. The East was super close. They're only the 2 seed because on the run they went on towards the end of the season. And if you need to win games, you got to put your best players in. I don't know. Can you really fault Tibbs for doing that? Because let's say he didn't do that, and the Knicks fall to the 8 seed, or even not.
I think that's a coaching problem then.
Yeah,
because you don't trust your other guys.
Exactly. That's why the Pacers.
Or maybe you're
depth.
putting the guys in the game that give you the best opportunity to win.
It's hard to tell because obviously the players they traded away would have been playing normal minutes, but the problem is you traded away everybody that you were going to play, and you were left with scraps. And that's at the end of the day, that can't happen. You can't overpay on trades. If you're trading away R.J. Barrett and Emmanuel Quickley for one player, or I guess 2 players technically, but he barely played Precious. So at the end of the day, that does hurt. That does hurt the Knicks. And if Tom Thibodeau is going to stay coaching this team, they're going to need to get a lot of depth.
They also did get Malachi Flynn in that, who they then moved to Detroit, who dropped 50.
He wasn't going to play anyways,
He's
though.
whack.
Yeah.
It was a fluke performance.
Yeah.
But
no disrespect.
I do want to go back to what Michael Malone said last night.
Okay.
And I think it really kind of does make a lot of sense because last year, Denver, the West was not as stacked as it was this year, obviously. Denver had the 1 seed locked up in March, and they just kind of took it easy. They threw games away while Jokic lost the MVP, stuff like that. And then they were all ready to go for that. They obviously had bench depth that was trustworthy in the playoffs, and they were able to just kind of dominate through everybody. This year, it obviously wasn't the case. Championship hangovers happen. They dropped some games they shouldn't have in the winter. And then, you're in a dogfight for the 1 seed. You beat Minnesota to avoid playing them in the second round. And then you drop that game against San Antonio, which gives OKC the 1 seed. And you could have been playing New Orleans in round 1 instead of the Lakers. And I think, you don't get that kind of couple-week rest at the end of the season, and you exert a lot of energy to beat the Lakers because they were not good in that series. And we saw uncharacteristic things from Denver. I think the way Minnesota played in round 1 was the way Denver played last year.
Right.
And then you obviously, the way they played against LA does not tolerate against Minnesota, and you saw that in the first 2 games. And I think they used up all their energy in those next 3 games trying to get it back.
Ooh.
And look, at the end of the day, it's not an excuse. Is they just weren't good enough. They had nothing left in the tank, and they had nothing left to give.
Wow.
And that's why I think Michael Malone said he was proud of the way his team played, based on the circumstances that they were in.
Right.
And at the end of the day, I think he pretty much is correct with that, you know. And it sucks being up 20 in a game 7 like that, but they were down 20 in a playoff game about a month ago, and they came back and won the game. So
Yeah.
sometimes you're going to be on the wrong end of it.
Right.
And I think I personally think these are the 2 best teams in the NBA right now, and it really sucks that one of them had to go out in the second round. Which I think it's just for discourse sake of just NBA Twitter and NBA media. It's just annoying with that, because you would have seen a lot of discourse for Ant and Cat if it was the other way around. But I think just last night in Game 7, I think you just saw a complete capitulation from Murray in the second half, and just no one else showed up outside of Jokic and maybe Christian Brown for a quarter. But look, at the end of the day, Minnesota had more depth. They were more, they were healthier. Denver was completely healthy last year in the first playoff run. But Minnesota, they got, I think, outside of Anthony Edwards, I think everyone else showed up, because we all know Ant did not, unfortunately.
Yeah.
But look, if your star player doesn't show up and you win,
That's impressive.
that's impressive.
That's
very
that's
impressive.
team.
Yeah.
That's
That's what impressed me the most this series.
Yes.
Is that what I had said earlier, before, like days ago. I'm like, if the Timberwolves want to win the series, this is when they were down 3-2.
Yeah.
If the Timberwolves want to win the series, AE has to be historically good. And he wasn't historically good, but they still won.
Yeah.
So that tells me a lot about this team, the character of this team, and maybe AE was a part of the leadership and, getting the guys, ready to go or whatever it is. But, man, those guys could play. They can really play. They are some dogs.
Yeah.
For real.
And I mean, again, we kind of go back to Tim Connolly. This team was built to specifically take down Denver.
Yeah.
Because I think Tim Connolly knows Jokic more than anybody.
Wow.
And knows Murray more than anybody. He drafted both of them. He drafted everyone up until Christian. I think he even had say in drafting Christian Brown.
Yeah.
So, in all actuality, it's like, I think if any team were to knock off Denver, it would be them.
Yeah.
And I think we're going to start seeing a trend of this decade of just them knocking each other out every other year.
Yeah. I think what we're also going to see is teams flood in with a huge amount of bigs, like kind of what we saw with Shaq's era, where now teams have a bunch of bigs that they can put up against Shaq. We're going to see the same thing with Jokic, because now we have a blueprint for that.
Right.
Gobert, Cat, Nasri, bigs that you can throw at Jokic.
Yeah.
We're going to see that for a lot of other teams as well.
Yeah.
So,
and that kind of goes back also to just your supporting cast is really important, because obviously I think he only had 1 triple-double in that series, or 2 triple-doubles, but again, a lot of those assists could have been made threes and they weren't.
right.
And that's the thing.
Open shots.
You need your supporting cast to show up. And unfortunately, after Game 5, none of them did.
Nope.
And that's fatal. Like, you can't have that. I think with Minnesota, the production you got from McDaniels, the production you got from Mike Conley, it's huge, and that swings a series. If Porter or Gordon have one of those kind of games, like Denver blows them out.
Yeah. But I do think that goes into the 2 stars of the Nuggets not playing. I mean, they played well. They both had 34, 35 points.
Jamal Murray had a very quiet second half.
He did, but he still went off.
Yeah,
though.
Jokic played well the entire game. I think the problem Denver had with Game 7 specifically, they just started jacking up threes.
Yeah.
And that just kind of stagnates your offense. Oh, absolutely.
Yeah.
Yes, that lost you the game right there. And you just kind of go away from just getting whatever you want with going with that 2-man game with Murray and Jokic, or finding Gordon on the lobs. They just weren't aggressive. They took their foot off the gas, and you can't do that in a Game 7.
Yeah.
That's just not what happens.
Another thing, though, I think about the Nuggets, the reason why they lost this game is obviously MPJ and Gordon combined for 11 points. That can't happen.
No.
But one of the reasons that did happen is because Jokic and Murray combined for 60 shots together. And so what does that mean? Those players are not going to get into any sort of rhythm whatsoever if you're not giving them opportunities to shoot the ball.
Right.
So it's like you have to give them that in the beginning of the game so that they're confident in the fourth quarter to make those shots that you need them to make.
Exactly.
And they weren't confident. I saw MPJ running away from the ball in the fourth quarter because he wasn't confident to shoot the ball in that time.
He took
of the game.
2 threes in the third quarter that didn't even hit the rim.
Right.
So at some point you got to kind of not, because you can't mess around in a Game 7.
Yeah.
We saw on Twitter a couple of reporters stated that Donovan Mitchell was unhappy in Cleveland. Quickly shot those rumors down. Told Woj and Wendy that he's committed to Cleveland. And reports now surfaced that Darius Garland could be requesting a trade within the next week or so.
Wow.
Just want to know your thoughts on where you think Garland could go, and if you kind of agree with them sticking with Donovan Mitchell.
Oh, this is tough. Where would Garland go, man? Where would he fit in? I'm trying to figure it out.
I think a team that needs just...
What about the Lakers?
I literally was just going to say
Lakers do need a point guard.
Going there.
They wanted Donovan Mitchell, but I don't know if Donovan Mitchell still could get traded if he doesn't sign the extension, but it's looking likely that Garland might be on his way out.
Yeah.
I think I do like the fit with the Lakers. I think I would like that.
All right.
We'll see.
Over Trey. That's interesting.
No, I don't think. I think Trey's staying.
I think Trey's either staying or going to the Spurs.
Yeah, and I think Garland will end up on the Lakers, but we will see.
That'd be a weird fit.
Wait, why?
Yeah.
Why do you think?
I don't know. I just feel like Garland with LeBron.
He's a pass first guy.
He's a pass first guy, but you'd think LeBron would play with like a superstar kind of guy.
He already has AD.
Yeah, but Garland is a one-time All-Star, so
Yeah,
Okay.
I think
guess.
LeBron should hand the ball control over to Garland.
yeah.
Brown will play off ball like he did in Miami with Wade, right?
Mm-hmm.
And then go crazy.
I feel like we need to just say one quick thing about OKC.
Yeah.
I think now is the time for Sam Presti to stop hoarding those picks and go get Larry Markkinen or someone of that nature.
Yeah, that's what I was saying. You got to get the second star.
They got to get someone
It's
that's got
whoever-
size. They can't run it with another guard. That's just not feasible, especially in the West when you got the Giants in Denver and Minnesota and whatever's cooking over in San Antonio. Because keep in mind, OKC and San Antonio will peak together because they got a lot of time. So, and eventually you're going to need someone younger to eventually replace SGA when his time is done, because he's older than a lot of those other guys. So he's older than J-Dub. He's older than Kason Wallace. Kason Wallace could be someone that they utilize in the future. So,
And here's the thing, though. OKC had an opportunity to get a couple bigs like the Mavs ended up doing. They got Daniel Gafford.
yeah.
The OKC had an opportunity to do that. They didn't do that. That's why they lost the series.
Keep in mind, OKC drafted Derek Lively and Dallas drafted Kason
Interesting.
With, and they swapped.
Interesting.
So, but maybe they just weren't the right fit.
Yeah.
Obviously, OKC will be in the market for a big this offseason.
Yeah.
I've seen noise in Brooklyn for Nick Claxton. I think
Yeah.
I would certainly like him to go to OKC
That would
because
be
I don't want to pay him $25 million. But it's interesting. I think Larry Markkinen just makes so much sense that it's stupid. Like they would be so good with him. And the package that Danny Ainge will get back from Sam Presti, the Jazz will be a dynasty in the 2030s. I'm telling you that right now. Do not be surprised.